What is going on, guys? Blink here, back with a new guide. Today I'll be showing you guys a few ways to improve your aim and just my experience with getting better. But before we get started, the V-Bucks giveaway is still going on, so visit the link in the description to enter. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications as I post an Amazon gift card code in the comments every time I upload. By turning on notifications, you'll have a way better chance of getting here first and redeeming that code. Anyways guys, let's get this guide started. This guide isn't instantly going to improve your aim and make you a god, but if you incorporate some of these tips and tricks every day, then surely you'll improve, I promise. You need to make sure you're warmed up. The first warm-up is your actual hands. Have you guys ever tried playing a game with cold hands? It's not fun. Your hands get much stiffer, which makes it harder to aim. And if you don't notice it, or you never even knew cold hands isn't a good thing, then start making sure your hands are warm when you game. It's a lot better to be in a room that's super hot than super cold. By having warm hands, you'll have better circulation, which will improve your precision. So how do you warm up your hands? Well, if you want to buy a product, then you can buy yourself a rechargeable hand warmer. I don't use these since my room's always warm, but a lot of professional gamers use hand warmers in between games. Or you can do it the free way, which is putting your hands in your pants. No joke. The warmest part of your body is your genital area, but if you want to be a little more sanitary, then you can place them under your armpits or sit on them. Make sure not to sit on them for too long because you'll lose circulation, and that's basically like having cold hands, which would bring you back to step 1. So now that we have all that figured out, let's make sure your mouse movement is warmed up. Now, there is one thing you have to make sure that is disabled in your Windows mouse settings, which is enhanced pointer precision. It is also known for the word mouse acceleration. By having mouse acceleration on, it does make your mouse move farther if you move your hand faster. So by disabling that, you always have the mouse move the same distance no matter how fast you move your hand. We want Windows to avoid guesstimating how much we move our hands, so we need that option unticked. So let's get to one of the main tips we'll be talking about. So in the starting island, find yourself a gun and a few still objects that you can shoot at. Practice snapping to each one and taking a shot. You can also track moving players around the area with your mouse. Do this every single time you're in a warm-up area. I guarantee this will improve your tracking and aim when fighting opponents. The warm-up might be less than 20 seconds, but that does add up over time. You'll notice a month from now that you can trace objects much better than you used to. No joke, record yourself doing it now and record yourself doing it a month from now. I guarantee you guys will see improvements in the starting island, which will transfer to your gameplay too. Alright, so let's make sure you've got the pre-peeking habit down. So you want to try to line up your crosshair as close as you can vertically onto your opponent without exposing yourself. The lineup always comes first before the peek. The key here is to make the least amount of mouse adjustment possible. So I'll show you an example of what I mean. So you're inside a fort and there's an enemy up ahead. How do you properly position your crosshair? You line up your crosshair as close as you can vertically onto your opponent without exposing yourself. The lineup always comes first before the peek. By already pre-lining up your shot, you expose yourself less when peeking out, and you guarantee better connections because you don't have to drastically move your mouse. Your movement will be the key component after the lineup. After getting the lineup, use your keyboard movement to keep the mouse adjustments to a minimum. Because remember what I said, you want to make the least amount of mouse adjustment possible, and that's where your keyboard comes into play. I'll show you the wrong way to do it. So I peek out and then I readjust my crosshair. Right there I'm exposed for a longer period of time because I still have to line up my shot, and it's even harder to do when you're getting shot at. So to make it easier on yourself, line up before peeking. I'll show you an actual fighting example. As you guys see here, I had 3 HP, and this is when this method of your movement plus aiming is best used. I lined up my crosshair below the opponent before peeking out and used my keyboard movement to avoid crazy mouse adjustments. He wasn't able to connect any shots on me because I already had my crosshair pre-positioned on him, which means I'm exposing myself less. By using this method, I was able to finish my opponent off without a scratch. Your movement is what's going to help you become as accurate as possible. Those flick shots we do aren't usually done on purpose. They are done because we underestimate or overestimate our opponent's positioning, which creates that sudden, I gotta make this quick readjustment that might not be accurate, but I gotta do it fast because my crosshair is not where it has to be, which creates that flick shot action. Now, some people are actually very accurate with their flick shots because of the past games they used to play. Games like Guns the Duel, Quake, Unreal Tournament, Overwatch, and even Counter-Strike can help improve that flicking motion. These are games I used to play, and some of them require consistent flicking movements because the games revolve around fast motions. So if you have played any of these games and you put a lot of time into some of them, then you might already be good at flicking. If not, don't worry, because Fortnite might be the game you develop all your skills that can transfer from game to game. Now, as I spoke about keyboard movement, your keyboard will be a super important factor to help improve your aim. It will minimize the amount of movement you have to make with your mouse, which is exactly what you want. Shotguns are where you'll be utilizing more keyboard and less mouse. When peeking around corners, your crosshair needs to be positioned around head level. Now, when you peek out, you use your keyboard and minimum mouse movements because your crosshair is already pre-positioned for that shot. Here's an example of dropping on your opponents with a shotgun. You can see I don't use my mouse much at all. I use the momentum from my movement to do the job. If I do use my mouse, it's for small adjustments only. Your movement is the key component after the lineup. After getting that lineup, use your keyboard movement for the rest of the work. So now that we know how everything works, let me show you how you guys can improve on your aim without always needing to fight. The first way will improve your snappiness and flicks with any weapon, VAR, sniper, and even shotgun. Now I'm using using the AR in this method, but you can use a sniper if you want to. If you practice with the sniper, aim at trees that are at a medium distance from you at first. Just pretend they are players, and switch distances on all these as you practice. So let's get to it. By lining up your crosshair beside a tree and flicking to it, you'll improve your crosshair control. Try placing your crosshair a little farther each time and change up your distance, and see how many shots it takes you to destroy the trees. Keep practicing this every day and you'll see improvements. Now, if you miss a lot, then you might need to readjust your sensitivity, or you just have to keep practicing this method and over time you'll get better. But I'm not going to leave you off on that note, because we'll need to figure out if it's your sensitivity or you just need to practice. But first I'll show you how you can practice dropping on enemies with the shotgun. So instead of placing your crosshair beside the trees, you already want to pre-aim the tree and then add a jump to it. The key here is with every jump you want to hit the tree right before you land. Practice this as it'll improve your shotgun aim when you jump down on an opponent. Alright, so let's get back to the AR method with the tree. So if you're missing pretty often, then let's figure out if your sensitivity is causing the issue. So first we want to find a relatively small object on the map and try to keep your crosshair on it. So I chose the fence stump. Now once you found your object, you're going to want to keep your crosshair on it while moving left to right. Every 20 seconds or so, change the distance from the object, get a little closer and get a little farther, and see how well you can do it. If you can do this no problem, then your sensitivity is just right. If you're overshooting it, then decrease your sensitivity. If you're having a hard time getting your crosshair on the object, then increase your sensitivity. The reason we do this is because it will help you trace your opponent's head while he's moving around. I used to have super high sensitivity years ago because I thought faster was better, because you can track your opponents very quickly, right? Well, that's not always right, because most of the time you're probably overshooting. I ended up lowering it because a friend told me it would help me in the long run, and it did. Never liked it at first, but after a few days of playing with lower sensitivity, I felt so much more precise with my tracking. Although there are a lot of professional gamers that play with a higher sensitivity and it works fine for them. Remember what I said about the methods of practice first. If you're doing everything no problem, then don't touch your sensitivity. It might even be really high, but if you're still able to track objects very well, then your sensitivity is perfect for you. The last thing I want to mention is that you might not like players hearing you shoot. So your best bet will be to dedicate one slot to a silenced pistol and incorporate the methods I explained. Just incorporate these methods a few games a day as you move into the circle. It doesn't stop you from playing, and it just helps you in the long run. We'll talk a little bit more about the sniper. So let's get into the leading aspect. First of all, what is leading? Well, when you shoot your bullet, it doesn't get to its destination instantly. It's fast, but it'll take a little bit of time to get there. Your target doesn't even have to be that far for a lead shot. Now, some people wonder how far you have to aim, or should you wait until they get to your crosshair? So the best way I can explain is by showing you guys a few clips so you guys can kind of get a better idea. So in this first clip, as this guy runs, I scope in and make sure the crosshair is in front of him, and once he gets to the place I estimate the bullet to travel, then I take my shot. Now you guys are probably wondering, well, when do I shoot? And that's something you guys have to learn to adapt yourselves. When he's at a medium range like this, you shoot about 3 to 4 bodies in front of him, and that's something that will be automatic to you as long as you practice leading. Even if you're above him, you still want to position your crosshair in front of him. Anytime your opponent is even moving slightly horizontally, then you'll usually need to shoot in front of him. If he's close, then line up a shot right on him or at the farthest point of his body, depending on the way he's walking. So he's moving right in this situation. I line up my crosshair to the farthest right point of his body, because as it keeps moving right, the bullet will connect somewhere in the middle of his body. Now, if he's not moving at all, then you have to take into account the drop. The farther he is, the higher you have to adjust your crosshair. Now, I won't be explaining drop because I've already created a range finding guide. If you guys haven't seen my range finding guide, then you can check the description or just scroll through the channel and you should find it. It's super detailed and it'll help you determine how much you have to adjust your scope depending on how far the player is. So, once you have taken into account everything I said, the only way to improve your aim is to practice. Practice these methods and practice on real players. It doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of like working out. You don't suddenly get a big chest and arms. You'll have to be consistently working out every single day to see progress. It comes in slow increments, but if you look back at day 1 versus now, then you'll notice how much more you have grown because you've put in the time. It's the same with your aim. If you really want to see some aim improvements, then practice doing some of these methods I explained. Now, if you're new to the PC world, then take it easy on yourself. Just keep playing and the game will slowly catch up to you. So, that's it for this guide. I tried to provide as much information in the least amount of time as possible. Also, let me know in the comments below how many of you guys are PC players or console players. I want to get a gist of how many of you guys play on what. And lastly, if this video has helped you out even a little bit, then if possible, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated as it does help me out a lot. Anyways guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you on the next one.